Hi everyone, welcome to your Friday special with Wendy Bones Tarot. This is the Pick a Deck or Pick a Card series. So today we're going to ask the question, what is my block? And then we'll look at how we can overcome that in order to achieve success or strive toward our personal vision. So we'll go with deck 1, the Dragon Tarot, deck 2 will be the Robin Wood, and deck 3 will be the Golden Nouveau. We have Blue Lace Agate, we have Crystal Quartz, and we have Smoky Quartz. So as you begin to meditate and choose your deck, I'm going to begin shuffling. We'll pull some cards first from the Dragon Tarot. So what is my block and how can I overcome it in order to move forward? All right, so the first deck, what is my block? We're looking at the Hanged Man. I apologize if it's a little bit, looks like it's a bit shadowy. I'm still messing with the setup here, so, but yeah, the Hanged Man is coming out as your block for those of you who picked the first deck. So the Hanged Man has to do with a period of limbo. Of course, it is maybe self-sacrificing. There's too much self-sacrifice that can happen with this card when it does show up as a block. And you may be someone who acquiesces to others far too easily. You may be afraid of expressing your own views or thoughts. And you sort of put yourself at a detriment because you can tend to prioritize the needs of others over your own. There's a feeling of uncertainty as well. The Hanged Man can be like that rainy, foggy day where you can't really, you know, when the sun comes up, it's sort of a gray day, and then the sun goes down and the light hasn't changed all day. That's kind of what the Hanged Man feels like. It's this uncertain fog where you're not sure how much time you're really going to spend in this position. And so that could be a block in and of itself, is wondering how long something will take. And you start to focus too much on the amount of time as opposed to the actual events or opportunities that may present themselves. Hanged Man can also indicate a blockage where you may have gone through recently, or even in the last few years, there's some kind of great loss. And this could be the loss of a business, the loss of a loved one, a breakup, a friendship that's gone sour. Basically, you've experienced a great loss, and now you're kind of swimming in the aftermath, and you're not really sure how to move forward. So basically, with the Hanged Man as a block, I mean, it is a period of suspense, and it's a period of patience that requires a lot of, you know, just really having faith. So we're going to look at how we can overcome the Hanged Man. And the card that came out for the solution is the Hermit. So the Hermit has to do with introspecting and shining your light that is within. So there's something that you can do during this period. I think you're learning a lot about yourself. You're introspecting, you're seeing things from a different perspective, and you're gaining a more complete sense of inner wisdom, inner standing with oneself. And so the Hermit is about following your own path and believing in your path, excuse me. Sorry, I had a tickle in my throat. Now with the Hermit, there's something interesting because you're looking basically for a way to move forward. But with the Hermit, I think that during this period of limbo, because you are learning so much about yourself, this is also potential to be very creative, right? The Hermit speaks to having a very rich inner life. And so you may not be wanting to socialize much at this time because there's so much going on inside. And the Hermit is kind of that light that emerges from the fog. Do you see how he's got his lantern here? And if we look at the Hanged Man sort of as a foggy day, then the Hermit is like this beautiful understanding that finally sort of emerges from this fog. So I always tell people in readings, like the Hanged Man is a very necessary energy. It's a very necessary process where you don't have to know everything all the time. Sometimes you have to give it, I know I'm using the word time a lot here, sometimes you just have to give it some time, that's all. And things tend to resolve or become more clear. And for those of you who are like waiting for someone to return, or you're waiting for some kind of suspense like to clear or be solved, because the Hanged Man can indicate kind of being in a period of uncertainty, or like you're kind of left hanging, you're left waiting. So someone could have stood you up. There could be a business partner who stopped putting in their half of the effort. Whatever this uncertainty and suspense where you feel like you've been left with no answers, you feel like you've been left with no way forward, well, the Hermit is telling you that now it's time. This is almost like a blessing in disguise, because you can actually move forward by yourself. And as you move forward by yourself, you're far more able to pursue that vision that may have actually been hampered by this other person in the first place. So there is a beautiful light inside you that is either forming, like you could be in a state of hibernation or cocooning right now, where you know that you're in the process of transformation, and it may not happen until, like, let's say the end of Pisces season. We have a Mercury retrograde coming up on February 16th through the 9th of March. So for like the most of February and into March, we're in the retrograde, where things are going to feel foggy and uncertain, and a lot of us will start to backtrack or even doubt decisions that we've sort of made or committed to. So just have faith that there's always a period of uncertainty, and those things are very necessary, because you'll end up introspecting, journaling, just spending time alone, figuring out like what my path is, what am I here to do. If you want to journal or write that down and start thinking about it, like, I'm here for a reason, and what is that, you know? Maybe you can ask your cards, you can ask your higher self, you can ask your guardian angels, whoever you like to ask for guidance, whatever will help you sort of bring this light forward. You know, think about the skills you have, think about what makes you happy, what makes life meaningful for you, and that is where your light begins to emerge and how you can start to come out of this fog. Okay, so that's the first group. Now the second group with the quartz and robin wood will ask, what is my block and how can I overcome it? I'm getting a little bit of a combative energy here. Pardon me. So now let me just write this down so I can timestamp this later. Let's say 7:30. Okay, so for group 2, your obstacle is the King of Swords, which is kind of, as opposed to group 1, where it seems like it was more about yourself and uncertainty about how to move forward. The King of Swords is other people. Your block could even be like getting the final word from someone. This could be someone who works in government, like there could be a government agency that's taking a really long time to get back to you with some crucial information. But the King of Swords as a self, as a quality of self, has to do with there's a hesitancy to express oneself. Your block is that you have very important things to say, and I think that you're a person with solutions. You can look at things objectively and figure out solutions, right? And I think you have a lot to offer a team. But for some reason, I'm not sure why you would be afraid of this. It's almost like there's something combative, like you're afraid of introducing some kind of combat, or this King of Swords feels like an authority figure who is kind of like this big scary boss, and it's someone that you're afraid to build a relationship with. Sorry, it's not focusing. You're afraid to build a relationship with this person. Like they're very intimidating to you. This is someone in the workplace who's in a higher position, and They're just, it seems like they're very out of your league, or they're very unattainable. There's something about this person that kind of scares you. King of Swords talks about speaking your truth. And he does it without emotion. He's someone who really has something to say and doesn't let feelings or other things get in the way. He's just very factual, gets right to the point of what needs to be said, because there's no point fluffing things up, right? Like, let's just get to the point. I need to know exactly what happened. This is a very truthful card. I need to know what happened, you know, or expressing what happened, or what's going to happen. So you have, this is someone who's afraid of confrontation. Even though, because when we see the King of Swords, this is like big picture stuff that is really going to impact your life. And no matter how large the scale or how it's going to affect your life, you still fear expressing what you need or what you know to be true. There's something about mastery of language and expressing oneself with this card as a block. So this could even be creative expression. Maybe you don't, maybe your block is that you don't know what your point is. And so again, very similar to the first sort of group or first deck. You can journal, you can ask your higher self or your divine, you know, your tarot cards, like whatever you need to ask for some guidance. If you want to journal and just ask, write it down. You know, sometimes because this is swords energy, like writing and talking are very helpful when dealing with this type of energy. And so maybe you can just write it down. It would help to put things into perspective. You know, how can I overcome this? Or maybe if you are someone who has a big presentation coming up, maybe just writing it down and planning it out, and like always having sort of something to adhere to, like writing your speech before you deliver it. You could be the type of person who has like a lot of confidence. You have a lot of inner belief, but it's like getting the words out that is the problem. And it could very well be that you're someone maybe who lives a lot in their head, and when it comes to expressing through spoken word or written word, that's where you run into your problem. I had that problem when I started my channel a year ago. You know, I had only really read for myself. Like I've been reading for people for a few years, but up to that point, I'd only been reading for myself for like a very long time, and so I wouldn't really speak the readings out loud, right? I'd kind of look at the cards and I'd understand inside of me what they were saying. So I was kind of going on a feeling, and then as I learned to read for other people and as I learned to speak in my videos, I had to learn basically a whole new language or a whole new method of communication. I had to start putting form to these thoughts and impressions that I had just from looking at the cards, and I couldn't go on a feeling or a visual anymore. I had to actually learn how to translate that into sentences, phrases, communicable ideas for people to listen to and to understand. Now this is really interesting because how to overcome it is the Queen of Wands. And so as I always think of performer with the Queen of Wands, there's something very dramatic and unafraid about her. So she'll kind of courageously, like there's something about the way you look that helps you feel good as you're presenting this, right? Like, I know it sounds superficial, but it's really not. It makes a world of difference when you put a lot into how you present yourself. It gives you the confidence. Like I'll tell you, when I throw on a blazer, I immediately feel different, right? Like I walk around the house wearing these like big flowy sort of cotton pants and stuff like that. But then if I go out and I've got like a blazer on or like tights and a nice dress or something, it's like, and I'm not just speaking to women, there's something that just immediately changes, and it changes the way people affect you as well. You could have, you could be a very successful person in your profession, but let's say on the weekends you dress very casually. Like let's say for example you're a lawyer, because the King of Swords can represent the lawyer. So let's say you're a lawyer. So at work, you know, you're very professional. You're wearing your tie and your vest and your jacket and or your like formal clothes. But then on the weekends or like in the evenings, you're very casual in like a t-shirt and some ripped up pants. And then on your weekends, you may encounter people who you want to network with, or at the evening if you've got like a dinner planned or something, but you dress so casually, and then people may not take you seriously. So I think that there's part of your presentation that that helps people take you seriously and helps you take yourself seriously is putting a lot of care into just how you present yourself in the first place. And like I said, for me, wearing a jacket, I immediately feel professional. I mean, it's that iconic sort of uniform for the working professional, isn't it? So, you know, when you dress up in the role that you're playing, it sure makes it a lot easier to play that role. And the Queen of Wands just, you know, these two are like two different people who don't have a problem expressing themselves to each other. And they're going to be friends after that. They're going to stay friends because they both know how to argue playfully. And it doesn't even, you don't have to look at it as a confrontation. You know, another thing with the King of Swords, you could look at expressing your needs as a conflict. Like you're worried that if you stand up for yourself, you're going to create some kind of conflict. I'm seeing a theme with deck 1 and 2 where there's like someone is really stuck in their head too, because Swords and Hanged Man are very much about the headspace. And so there's a need for you to replicate in the outside world what is going on internally. And these two, like, they both know they're right. That's the thing. They're both very confident in their own arguments. And you kind of have to respect that in the other person. And that's actually very much an Aquarius trait, is like you, and I say Aquarius because King of Swords is air sign. You know, you don't have to love a new idea or love what someone is presenting, but you can certainly respect it and sort of respectfully sort of argue with each other and keep it light, you know? Air and fire tend to do that with each other, but I'm not sure what your sign is. So there were a few different messages that came out with that one, so I hope that that helped whoever is watching. And now we'll move on to deck 3. So deck 3, we have Smoky Quartz and we have the Golden Nouveau. So what is my block? Well, that's a block for sure. And how can I overcome this? All right, I know I keep pausing. I just had to get a drink of water. It's actually cool. I'm able to pause my videos now, so if there's an interruption, I don't have to like scrap everything that I just did. All right, so for deck 3 or group 3, your block is your own fears, your wounds. You know, you're someone who's really come from a lot. And this, I want to tell you that the 9 of Wands, this is how a strong person is made. This is how character is built. This is how you learn what you're made of. This is how a warrior is made. 9 of Wands. Yeah, you've been through some shit, but you're not going to let that get you down. You've got your own back. There's a bit of loneliness with the 9 of Wands. Like someone is really having a hard time reaching out or making new friends or connecting with people. You may be new to the area that you just moved to. You're new to the area, or you have recently come from a very difficult place. This could be a breakup. This could have been like having your dreams dashed, right? Like maybe you tried to apply for something and it didn't come through. There's something that lingers on you that I think other people can actually see on you. Like they can sort of see the scars. And I use the word scar as a metaphor, but it could actually be scars too, because wands are physical. So there's something about like worrying about how other people see you. And you're worried that they're going to see you as a victim. I think you're sort of in a transformative stage where you're ready to like be reborn sort of, but you're hoping that people will accept you for the way that you are currently so that you can feel supported during your transformation process. There's a lot of fear with the Nine of Wands about how you'll be perceived, and you're kind of waiting for a signal. I feel like you're almost expecting the worst. You're kind of waiting for someone to give you the signal or like tell you what's up. You're waiting for something to go wrong because you're used to things always having gone wrong in the past. You're wounded, and you're making decisions continually from this wounded place. You may be someone who went through a breakup. Maybe you lost someone who you thought was your true love, but it didn't work out, and now you're sort of starting from scratch, and so you've got this like fresh wound, and you know, you can kind of see that on a person. Like when you see someone who's recently been through something, their entire demeanor is different from when they're happy and confident. So you're looking a little crushed, and you may be continually reacting from that place, you know, as you try to attract new friends or new lovers or new job opportunities. You're wanting meaningful connection. But I think that where you're coming from or where you've come from, you know, it could even be your childhood, again, or just a recent past relationship. Every choice that you make is still informed by that old place, you know, that person you used to be, or the result of what happened. Like you're very, it really had an effect on you. And I think this could almost be someone who's a water sign. Like I'm going to say, especially Pisces. I mean, anyone can be this way. But there's something about being very sort of impressionable, and as soon as like one thing happens, you expect that to just happen for the rest of your life. So you've kind of allowed this one event or this one grand, and I'm not trying to downplay it, I'm not saying it's a little thing, but you're definitely giving all of your power to this one thing that is making you a victim, and you're continually approaching everything in your life as a victim. So you may be attracting you know, people who won't show up for you because you kind of go into an interaction like not expecting anything from people, and that's what you get. There's always a self-fulfilling prophecy with that Nine of Wands. Now, I think for some of you, this is something that's been coming up in the readings that I just did for the first couple weeks of February, particularly in like the Libra, Scorpio readings. We were talking about the Nine of Wands because this card had come out for both of those signs, and we were talking about how aging, right, because not just scars or wounds, but also like the physical transformation of one's body over time, that's very much the Nine of Wands. Because whenever I see this card, you know, whenever I've pulled it, it has always come up on a day when I unexpectedly run into like an old friend or even an ex, like someone I haven't seen in years, and then you kind of notice how much that person has changed. I mean, for better or worse, but you know, years go by, and then you're all suddenly, years have gone by, and then again people are changing. You see the gray hairs, or you see all these changes to their bodies, and even just looking in the mirror. So that's like my own personal sort of experience with this card, but this can also be you as a blockage. It indicates you looking in the mirror and kind of maybe having a difficult relationship with what you see. And again, looking at yourself as a victim, like, well, why does my skin do this? Why does my hair do this? Why can't I have big muscles like that other person? Why can't I have thick, strong legs like that guy? Why can't I be taller? Why can't I be shorter? Why can't I have this color hair naturally? Like there's all these, you know, you sort of start to pick yourself apart and drive yourself crazy a little bit, but there's something about having to accept yourself with this Nine of Wands. Because like I said, it does markate the passage of time, and you know, you feel the same way as you go through life. Like I'm at 30 right now, and I still feel the same way that I did at 20. Well, I don't, you know, that feeling hasn't maintained across the last decade. It's definitely kind of gone up and down, but like now at 30, I feel like I'm 20 again. But I look different when I look at myself in the mirror, and so I have to make a choice about how I interact with myself, the words I say to myself, the thoughts that go through my head, you know. Am I going to give in, or am I going to fight this? Am I going to give in to like the standards, or am I going to truly love myself for everything that shows? Everything I've been through is a part of who I am. It's made me stronger. It's made me wiser. And nothing can stop me. Now when I'm saying me, I'm talking about you, right? Like I'm speaking from your perspective. But this is something that you can say to yourself, like it's made me wiser and stronger. These are all my experiences, and I'm proud. I'm proud of myself now. I don't look at myself as a victim. I'm proud of what happened. I mean, depending on your situation, of course, but there's all varying extremes with this. But primarily, you're starting to learn. You want to learn to empower yourself with the Nine of Wands. So it's kind of about reclaiming your identity, reclaiming the way you see yourself, and how you now demand that others see you as well. So how you overcome this? We have the Three of Pentacles. Which tells me that you'll have success if you try to network, if you try to make some kind of connection or even a support group. You join a support group or you start one, even just with a couple of people. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but you'll have a whole new understanding and a whole new appreciation too when you find like-minded people, people who are sort of striving for the same thing. Now there's something about perfection with this combination. So do whatever is ultimately going to make you happy, right? If for those of you who are having trouble maybe with what you see in the mirror, I mean, there's lots of things you can do with that. You can either choose your mindset, or you can have, you can do something about it. Three of Pentacles, like altering. That's not like my first recommendation, because again, I've been really talking about this lately, but I wish that we had a different relationship with aging in Western society, and I wish that we had more role models who were more vocal and like more visible with that. But again, do whatever is going to make you feel best, right? Like, because you want to perform to your best, and if whatever that takes, you do it. You're a free person. Someone is really afraid of joining a team, or like afraid of handing in an application. This could be a very exclusive place that you want to work. Like maybe there's an independent store, or there's like some new barber shop that opened up. There's something that seems like a very exclusive club, and you're kind of afraid of how they'll take you. I think you really want to break into this, but you're afraid of how they'll perceive you. And I just have to say, the Three of Pentacles, this is about you showing your skill. Showing what you're made of, showing what you're capable of. There's an element of showing off with the Three of Pentacles. And so I think that the more you open up and like sort of talk about this stuff, and you talk about how much this means to you and why it means so much to you, it's like you're honoring yourself when you do that, and other people tap into it because you're speaking from a heart center. You're speaking from a place of truth. And that's what people want. They want to know the emotional intent. They want to know what you mean. They want to know the truth behind your story. And I think that it's actually, success is a lot easier than you think it is. I think you're putting a lot of blocks up in your own mind. You're sort of like too worried about how everything's going to turn out. But the Three of Pentacles as a solution means that everything is going to be just fine. Complete the project. If you're like waiting for someone, or I feel like you're just waiting for something. You're waiting for someone to contact you. You're waiting for, and that's kind of very similar to the first deck as well. I find that there's always like an underlying theme to every week that I do these. But you're waiting for something, and I think if you just go ahead and finish this darn thing, then you won't need to wait anymore. You won't have this uncertainty. You'll just have done it. Networking, team efforts, success in the workplace, just join the conversation, join in. Threes are expansive numbers. Is an expansive number. It can indicate a group or a community, and there's success with this. So join in. You've got nothing to lose. Honestly, the Three of Pentacles is a great card. I think you're going to bring something really special to this team, And, you know, I feel like you have a really great sense of humor. And I think people are just going to love you as soon as you show up, basically. So I think you're just putting a lot of pressure on yourself that doesn't really need to be there. I think you're sort of hampering your own success a little bit because, again, you're so afraid of how you'll be taken that you're letting that override your true effort or your true message. So my friends, that is the reading for this week. Thank you so very much for being a part of my channel. If you want to book a reading with me, I will link my Etsy shop and my email address in the description box. And I will see you next week. Happy Aquarius season, everybody. I love you so much.